Hello, everyone. Good evening. This is the Sit at Home with Chaps, TT, and
Zac.
where it finished at the Den, Millwall 3.
Sheffield Wednesday.
Nil.
Love it. Love it. All one take. All one take.
Yeah, of course. It has to be live. There's no getting around it with us. You can't. There's no editing. There's going to be no editing for this video. You just have to put it out how it is.
100%, mate. 100%. Listen, thank you very much for joining us, both of you, chaps. Really, really do appreciate it. Straight after a 3-0 home win against Sheffield Wednesday. Chaps, tell us. Obviously, listen to your video earlier, but tell us your thoughts on the game.
You start.
Oh, thanks very much. It's nice to be doing something without driving as well, so I can actually concentrate on looking at beautiful people around me, like here and you, chaps. Obviously, not my old bonds, but yeah, it was. We needed it. I said, obviously, we said it in the drive home, but it's madness to think that after 3 league games, the next game is a must win. But I felt that it had that feeling that it was like that. Because more than anything, Harris needs the Den to be what we create, the Den to be that fortress. And it wasn't. It starts to turn at the Den, and it's either fantastic or really hard for our players to play in. And what happened today is, because we played well and Coburn, has come in and raised expectations. Now I think once the first goal came in, then the fans come in. It needed it today. Sometimes it happens at Millwall, but we needed the players on the pitch to lift us. I think if we'd have gone behind, it would have been very difficult to get back in the game. But winning, going ahead, brought the fans into it, and the atmosphere towards the end of the game was. And I know people say, the old adage, "Sing when you're winning," and we're not always like that at Millwall. But today we needed it. Today we needed the players to lift us, and that's why it was massively important for Neil.
100%, and I think some debut from Josh Coburn's now. I know he got the goal, but I thought his all-round play was excellent. Zac, who was your man of the match of the game?
Well, in the drive home, I did say it was Josh Coburn, but our two players that were signed from Middlesbrough both played superb today, Duncan Watmore and Coburn. I think they were both energetic. They both looked like they were hungry for the ball, and they both ended up getting themselves on the score sheet. So,
yeah, I mean, at this rate, Duncan Watmore is going to end up being top scorer of the league, let alone us. I mean, it's like a man reborn, isn't it? He's got this new haircut, and all of a sudden he seems like a totally different player. I know he came off today, but he seems fitter, like he can last 90 minutes. I'm sure he's played 90 minutes a few times this season already. He looks
he's the Bermondsey De Bruyne with the ginger hair. He's just. I don't know where he's really grown on me. Towards the back end of last season. This is what Harris gets a lot of stick in terms of his tactical ability, but his man management skills. He has really got a player out of Duncan Watmore. And he's reveling. The same could be said about Longman towards the end of last season. It was absolute dog rubbish under the two previous managers. Didn't look like he was interested. Didn't look like a player in him. And then towards the end of the season, Longman really came on and made a difference. And Watmore this season has only gone from strength to strength. Yes, it helps. Obviously, he scores a goal today where you're in the right place at the right time. And when things are going for you, that does tend to happen. But his work rate, his design, like you said, his fitness seems so much better that you don't know what was happening beforehand. He could have been carrying a niggle, he could have been carrying an injury. Now he looks fully fit, because that's one thing you said about looking fit. It's one thing that does annoy me with Harris, that he doesn't make changes earlier, because to sustain good performances in this league, you need to utilize the squad. And I understand his methodology is that the players out there are all fighting, and don't get me wrong, they are. 75 minutes, 80 minutes, they may get you to win, but over a course of a season, you need to rely on your bench. And today was the first time I looked at our bench and thought we actually had something there to change the game, and that's where it's exciting. And like I said, the transfer policy is evident for all to see. For once, we've decided to go young. and bringing some youth into the squad rather than buying journeyman players. And it might take some time, but you don't have time in the Championship to have a rebuilding season. You have to be at it. And the good thing with Harris' team is he will make sure we are at it and hopefully stay in the division, because that's the most important thing. And then you can gradually, because our squad's too old, and that's the one thing that, under Rowett, he was by the players that we brought in. Obviously Zian was an exception to that, and obviously he's gone for big money, but too many old players, and now we're obviously trying to change that around, and that's where it's slightly more promising for the future, I think.
100%, and I think it's also the first time in a long time that this transfer window we are net positive because of the Zian sale. Although I don't think we actually get the money.
Yes. No, technically it's the end of the season, but it's still, it still makes a point that, and we've brought in a load of players. Obviously, Coburn isn't one of our players; he's a Middlesbrough player, and I don't think we have got the obligation to buy him.
No, I'm gutted with that.
Yeah,
and you can't blame Borough. To be fair, I'm very, very surprised they let him go. He started the season well at Borough. He scored a couple of good goals. The last goal he scored at home was a banger in the top corner. You're thinking, I'm very surprised that they let him go. It must be a question of money that we were offering to pay wages. But yeah, what a debut for him, because. All right, he nearly misses his goal. Ironically, it's probably one of the worst things he's done all game. That he tried to put it over the bar, but his physicality, his presence, his determination, his skill on the ball.
He looks quite quick as well. When he got to speed, he looked quite quick.
Yeah, it's just an overall good debut, and it's exciting because you sign him, and then the Serbian fella Ivanovic, who God knows what he's going to be like. Is he going to be Sergei Uran and Kulkov, or is he going to be the next Zian Fleming? You really just don't know. But I'm hoping he's going to be more Mitrovic.
Yeah.
Then.
Well. Yeah. I mean. Yeah. I mean, I did an interview on, I can't remember when it was, but I put it out this morning with former marketing director of Vojvodina, who we signed him from. And he says he's got all of the tools in his locker to be the next Mitrovic. But listen, we can't. I know. It felt like it, but listen, we'll take it. But it's just come out that he's injured for 8 weeks, by the way, as we've been talking. So of course he is. Why wouldn't he be? This is Millwall. We're never going to sign someone.
It'll be our lock for I've completely forgot Coburn to get injured. We finally found our striker. He looks good. He's had a good debut. For him to get injured for 5 months, it will be the most Millwall thing to happen.
Ivanovic probably done it pulling his bag off the carrier belt in Stansted Airport. That's he probably would. He's never probably had an injury in his whole career, and he's probably done it pulled his back whilst he was getting his luggage off the carousel at Stansted Airport. But again. But what's even more important that Coburn had it, a good debut, and we're going to have to see more of Langstaff if that's the case, because obviously Bradshaw's out injured.
Yeah,
we're going to have to see more of Langstaff, and the third goal today. I'm not sure whether Cooper did get it or whether it was Langstaff, but that showed what he is, that fox in the box, the player to put the ball in the back of the net and be there. That was kind of, I think he nearly injured himself doing it. So hopefully that was nothing serious. He hobbled that after the goal, but. I don't know whether it did go in from Cooper, so it might be Langstaff, but we're going to have to see more of him. He hasn't impressed me at all in terms of his physicality more than anything else. And his touch is Bradshaw-esque, which is League Two standard, where he's come from, if I'm being completely honest. But hopefully, with the signings that we've made with Aziz on the wing, with SA playing lights out, like he's so exciting. SA, and again today he does things that you're not used to seeing a Millwall player do.
No, summarise that perfectly.
And that's what, and it brings the crowd into play. Because no matter how you like whatever a Millwall type player is and whatever that looks like, and does he fit the mould of that. Everyone likes seeing good bits of football, and you get bits of brilliance from Romain SA, and that's what's exciting. That's why these players are few and far between, and why they don't very often put a Millwall shirt on. If it weren't for the fact that he came through our youth setup, we wouldn't have a player like Romain Esse. And it's fantastic to, you know, and I like our club gets a lot of stick for a number of reasons, but for us to sing about Romain Esse, that's one of our own. I think that means something. That means a lot because, you know, you get brandished with a tar, and we are this kind of club and we are that kind of club, but we get behind our own, and it doesn't matter who you are. The fact that we, you know, I think that symbolises what our club is.
I completely agree, and I was thrilled that he signed a new contract because, you know, he's here to stay, and the only reason now is if he doesn't stay is because we've got an offer that we can't refuse, and that's what we need to do, right? We need to be able to produce these types of talent and sell them on at the right times. And I think you make a great point there, mate, which is there is no way if Romain Esse was playing for another club, we'd look at him and go, oh, we'd sign him. There's no way because he's not a Millwall type player. He's learning to do the defensive work, but some of his touches today were outstanding. I do want to ask you, just before we move on from today, so Zac, you had Josh Coburn and Duncan Watmore. You said both sort of man of the match. TT, who was your man of the match?
Mine was Watmore. Like I said, his work rate, his energy, how he's turned his career around, being in the right place at the right time is a very underestimated point of football. But there were some really good players all around the park. I thought Casper Nanor and George Saville in the midfield, both of them put in a massive shift. Because you need that energy. When you play the formation that we play, those two central midfielders, if you want to be in a game, they have to be box to box. And both of them were box to box today. Nanor slightly less in terms of the attacking third, but then Saville did that. Like even right towards the end of a game, when you're thinking they've done all of that running, and then Saville has made a run and then run again to get in behind the defence to take us to further up the pitch. And those things are massively important in a game because they take the pressure off. Even though Sheffield Wednesday were poor, there's no getting around it. Sheffield Wednesday were very poor, and their insistence of playing from their goalkeeper to their centre back and then back to their goalkeeper. I'm like, lads, you're 2-0 down. I don't know how the coach
86th minute. They were like still fanning around with it at the back.
And that's the third goal came from them messing about at the back. And the new guy, is it
Ryan Wintle.
Wintle, yeah. I keep thinking Winter in my head. Yeah, Wintle. He's dispossessed one of their players and we end up scoring from it. And you're thinking, obviously the coach has gone to him, right, we're not Millwall, we're not going to play direct, but you need to play a little bit more forward than just keep playing it back to your goalkeeper. And it was just, it was nonsensical from Sheffield Wednesday today. They seemed like they had no desire. They came for a point. It felt like they came for a point. But you go 1-0 down and you think, all right, lads, now we need to go at them. But they're just nothing. If it weren't for the ref who had an awful game, he's going to sleep with his whistle tonight. The man couldn't have blown the whistle anymore. He must have come straight from the Notting Hill Carnival. The amount of times he blew that whistle, it was and some baffling decisions. It was one where one of their players went through Esse and he didn't give a foul. And then one where the ball's gone over the top of Esse. Esse's the wrong side of the defender. The defender pulls him back and then he gives a foul against Esse. They're like, what is this? What is he doing? He's had an absolute mare. And if it weren't for him, I think we would have won the game more comfortably, if I'm honest.
I don't often comment on referees, to be honest, but I have to agree that I thought he was just whistle happy. That's how I would describe him. He was whistle happy, and clearly, you sort of see the same faces down the den, don't you, referee wise? But it's not a face I've seen before. But look, it doesn't matter. We won the game 3-0. Agree with you, by the way. I thought Sheffield Wednesday were very poor. I expected, especially after talking to one of their fans' podcasts in the week, I expected them to be right up for it. You know, they hammered Plymouth.
Yeah, that's the game. That, to be fair though, that's the game we've got in our minds. That's because sometimes you get done by the fact it's on TV. So you watch a team and thought, oh, they looked really good in that game, but they haven't been great since that game.
Now, Leeds completely outclassed them, didn't they?
They've done nothing against Leeds. And don't get me wrong, Leeds are a class apart. You know, we're in the different league to Leeds, to be fair. There's a second level of the Championship, which we are probably in. But that, you know, you get taken in sometimes. That was a good opening day, but then you've got to factor in the fact that Plymouth are going to be very poor away from home most of the season, and they've got Wayne Rooney, who hasn't got an absolute Scooby-Doo how to manage a football team. So factor those two things in, and it was a poor Plymouth side that they came up against. That's not to say that they've got individual talent, like players like Whittaker, who scored a fantastic goal against QPR, but overall Plymouth are not a great side, and that was, I think it was misleading. But they did have a good end to the season last year, Sheffield Wednesday, so I could see why they would have been quite happy. But Jamal Lowe was dreadful. You know, he's a player that
interested. Did he?
No, didn't look interested. He was moaning, he was sulking. He should have a player that should have got booked. He made about 4 fouls, and the ref didn't book him. But yeah, it's a player that I normally fear, but he was woeful, absolutely woeful, and it was. But that was all of their front players. Hazard was sitting next to me. He's one of my Lions. They were brilliant at keeping the ball at the back four and getting towards the midfield. Obviously, Barry Bannon, the first time I've ever seen Barry Bannon, had a decent game for Barry Bannon, but I feel like he's past it. This is the first time I feel like this is a season. It's a season too far for him. The Championship, he's not Championship level anymore. He's still going to have good games because he's got quality, but I think it was one season too far in the Championship. But then as soon as they got to the final third, they had absolutely no idea to break us down. You know, Cooper and Tanganga were excellent. It was Joe Bryan's best game of the season by a long way.
Brian Leonard played. I thought he played poorly first half, but then the second half he really shone.
His recovery tackles are just.
Yeah, Leonard's the best. Leonard's the best. I know you've got bias because obviously it's our team, but Leonard is the best defender one-on-one in the Championship. He just.
I agree.
No matter who he comes up against, whether they've got 3 times as much pace as him, somehow he just times his tackle to perfection.
I think he's quicker than people think, though, TT.
I
know he's 32.
But you're coming up against lightning. You're coming up against lightning players, and he still manages to get there at the right time because he gave a penalty away last year against Sunderland.
It was against Jack Clark.
But he got the ball.
Yeah, he completely got the ball. The ref made a mistake, and then that's how. Did they win 1-0 or was it 1-1?
I think it was 1-1. That was a 1-1.
But it was a poor decision from the ref because it was a perfect challenge from Ryan Leonard. It was just the ref didn't see it properly, or he was against us, which normally happens.
Chaps, before we go any further, we love what you're doing. Obviously, you're technically the new kid on the block, which is ironic considering how old he is. But he's been doing YouTube longer than you. But obviously, what you're doing for Cancer Research UK and donating all your all of the proceeds to that is admirable and something that needs to get more publicity. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed to Chat with Chaps, if you're here just to watch us two, which who can blame you? You know, we are the good-looking bunch. We are the good-looking YouTubers, and we're certainly not YouTubers, that's for sure. Although someone did call me a YouTuber today, which really disconcerted me. I certainly don't consider myself as a YouTuber. But yeah, get your self-subscribe to at Chat with Chaps 89. And if you're not subscribed to the Mill Drive Home, then click that button as well.
Definitely, and we'll be linking to the Mill Drive Home in this video as well. We're going to put this right out tonight, and thanks for that, mate. I really appreciate it. I think the way I see it is there is more than enough opportunities for loads of great YouTubers or whatever you want to call us, like loads of podcasters, because if it's good content, Mill fans are going to listen to it. So the way I see it is there's opportunity for loads, and
there's also plenty of bad content as well, but content's content. And at the end of the day, you let people decide on what they like and what they don't like. The biggest thing for me is that you just be honest. You know, just say what you see, because there's Mill fans all around the world that loved going, that are part of the club, and that they don't go anymore. So the fact that they get to hear they know that we're just we're a Mill father and son that go to games, that, you know, you have the roller coaster of emotions, and because it's so raw when it's straight after it, you see it straight away. So there's no pretense, there's no, you know, we've never been sponsored, we don't make money from it. It's just to, you know, I do it to vent. That's why I always done it. I've done it to get it off my chest. And then you end up thinking, actually some people actually want to watch what I've got to say. and now it's given him a forum to be able to grow. And you know, he does public speaking. He's done it through his school. It's given him the confidence to be able to, you know, be whatever he wants to be. Listen, I've got a face for radio. He's a good-looking chap. Do you know what I mean? He could do anything. Chaps, you're similar to Zac. To be fair, you're a handsome lad, but yeah, I'm better if we turn the lights off. But so you don't have to look at me when I'm driving, because I don't look at the camera. Obviously, I'm looking at the wing mirror. But yeah, it's there's plenty of content out there, and I think it can't be a bad thing if we're talking about Millwall, can we? Because we are the biggest small club in the world. So the more times we say that, the better it is.
Mate, 100%. And something I've never told you, and I deliberately didn't say this to you when I asked you to come on the show, is hand on heart, I've genuinely taken inspiration from what you do, because I started to do how I started this was to do a post-match reaction on that Millwall podcast. And what it's now evolved to is, I don't really know. I'm making it up as it goes along, to be totally honest with you. And we're here for the ride, but that's fine. But I absolutely loved, obviously, the fact that you were doing a post-match reaction, but I also loved the fact of how you touched on it there, how raw it is. There's no editing. It's just you say what you see. And I love that. And then the other thing I loved as well is, and I'm going to ask you some questions about this now, is I go to Millwall because my dad does. I go to every game with my dad. He is my best friend. And I wouldn't change that for the world. And then seeing you guys do this with father and son is, quite honestly, it pulls on the heartstrings, and I think it's touching. So I just want to say, keep doing what you're doing, because I think it's fantastic. And I've never told you that. I just wanted to tell you that here, because you've genuinely inspired me to do what I do here. Now, I'm not going to blow any more smoke up your ass. I'm going to ask you questions now, but do before I can ask you how you got into podcasting, I have to ask you how you got into supporting Millwall. So tell us a little bit about how you started following the Lions.
Like many people, it wasn't a choice. My dad was Millwall. We were born in. I was born in Guy's Hospital, brought up in New Cross. We lived literally on the estate, the other side of the Cold Blow Lane. So we walked to the game. It was 2 minutes away, and you know, once you go to I was 6 or 7 when we were in the top flight, so I was too young to think it, but going to the games and the atmosphere at the Den at the time was electric. And once you've got the bug, it's with you for life. Obviously, we are Barcelona members, so we go to a few Barcelona games a season as well. And the reason I say that is because people, you know, my dad took me to the Nou Camp when I was younger, and I was like amazed with it. And people say, how do you support two teams? They are completely different. You know, Barca and Millwall are completely different. But once you get the football bug, once I went to the old Den, I was never not going to be a Millwall fan. He had no choice. His first game, he was 2 weeks old against Swansea. We obviously lost 2-0. It's an introduction to Millwall. Yeah, of course it's going to happen. And yeah, my 2 daughters went, you know, with me before Zac was even born. They came home and away a couple of times. The memorable one was the Charlton game where Lowry scored the goal. One of the only times I've actually ever filmed at football. I think I filmed at football 3 or 4 times. That was because that was their first away game, and I got them on camera to say, "Oh, look, there's my girls on at their first game." And I've gone back to Lowry, and he's absolutely buried it. And you know, I've ended up catching one of the best goals we've scored in recent years. Ironically, one of the other times I've done a full-time reaction at Leeds when we won 4-3 there, and that was probably. So many people said that they thought I was on drugs, but that's what it does. That's what I've never taken. I've never taken a drug in my life, but Millwall is my drug. Do you know what I mean? I don't need a substance because of, you know, when you get like the high of coming out today after winning 3-0, it's different. It hits you different, and it's silly. You know, people don't understand it, but winning as a Millwall fan is, you know, it never becomes old. You never get bored of it. It always makes your weekend. It always hits you somewhere and stays with you. And that's why that's why we're Millwall fans, because of my dad, who sadly passed away a couple of years ago. But he was my reasoning behind Millwall. First generation his parents, he was adopted, so I don't know who they supported. My granddad actually was on my mum's side was an Arsenal fan. And we was never going to be Arsenal. Let's face it. Come on, we've got some style.
Love it, mate. I absolutely love it. And just to sorry to hear of your loss a few years ago. But I'm sure he'll be very proud of the relationship you built with Zac and how you've continued that legacy. So Zac, I'm sure you remember it. Being 2 weeks old, losing to Swansea. Zac, what is the first game that you do remember?
Oh, it is. I would say my first away game. My first away game was Fulham away. We ended up winning 1-0 at Craven Cottage, and it was. I just remember brief moments from that day, but it isn't fond in my memory. Don't get me wrong, but I just remember moments from that day, and I remember being there, and I remember thinking, "Wow, this is what it's like."
Was that the game, Zac? When didn't we win? Wasn't it Martin Wolford who scored?
Yeah,
is that the right game?
Yeah, where we got battered absolutely, like literally it was all Fulham, and we nicked a goal and then held on. It was, like I said, it was a good away game for him to go to. So the girls were Charlton and we won that 2-0, and Zac's was Fulham. And then I think we had a couple of years where he didn't go to games away from home, and then we went to Swindon, the three of us. So
Swindon,
the two girls and Zac. And I think that was the turning point because I'd gone home and away with Millwall when I was younger, but as a dad, I'd stopped doing it. And then I think you must have been about 3 or 4, and then that was it. And then then we were home and away every week. Like memorable moments like Colchester away when you got a police officer telling you my 3-year-old can't have a fruit shoot lid on a fruit shoot bottle, and I'm like, mate. I said, I said, no Millwall fan in the world is going to throw a fruit shoot bottle as a missile. Like the street cred you're going to lose by doing that. I said, there's more chance I'm going to throw him as a missile than I would do as a fruit shoot bottle. And I said, it's times like that when you go, I said, the next time you take your daughter or your granddaughter or their kids out, and you take them to the theatre, just remember this moment and realise how ridiculous you are being. And that's part of being Millwall. And it was funny. I think he was about 6, and we went to Downing Street, and we've gone to Downing Street as to take him around our city and show him the sights. And there was obviously it's guarded by police officers, and we've walked up to them, and a police officer went, "Oh, hi, young man, how are you doing?" And Zac was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm okay." And so we talked about Downing Street, and we walked away, and Zac went to me, "Dad, I didn't know police officers could be nice." And I'm like. That's exactly what you got. That's what you get at Millwall. So we're treated like animals, even from as a kid. And it has grown our relationship. There's no getting it. We do many things together. So we play golf together, pool, darts, PlayStation.
He's my coach at football.
I'm his coach. So we spend a lot of time together. But my wife is my best friend, and she's amazing. Like he's got a great mum, and we spend a lot of time as a 3, but the time that we get together, like you said, with you and your dad, it's priceless. I'd give anything to have a beer with my dad again. You got to make the most of the people while they're here, because we're not on the planet very long. And someone said something to me that really resonated with me. He's getting older, so if we're on holiday and he goes, "Dad, should jump in the pool," one day he's not going to ask me to jump in the pool. He's going to be too cool for Paul. With TT,
I feel like he's getting there. I can see that being a very, very cool lad when he gets a bit older. So
exactly, but the good thing is, I'm obviously I'm definitely not cool at all. There's one thing about me, I'm definitely not cool. But I'll be chatting to somebody at a bar somewhere. But there's going to be time. There's going to be time. It's going to come soon where he's not going to want to do as many things with me, and so I just make the most of it. Like I said, seeing him grow up. If you watch back to our first ever YouTube videos where he weren't even saying anything, he was just in the back.
Yeah,
and then he's gradually grown and grown and grown and grown. And
now I cut you off when you're speaking. Yeah,
which annoys people quite often. That we'll get a comment saying, "Zac, let your dad talk."
But then you also get sometimes saying, "TT, shut up, let your son talk," because he's a very sharp kid.
Yeah,
that was my comment.
It's true. He has got. Listen, he's gonna. You want your kids to be better than you in every single way, and he is. He's more intelligent than I am. He's funnier than I am.
Better sportsman.
He's definitely not a better sportsman than me.
I played football with you, TT, so
Yeah, true. Yeah, I never said I was a good footballer. To be fair, we played golf yesterday. I beat him at golf. Then we played snooker, and I beat him at snooker. Then we played pool, and I beat him at pool. So,
how many sports do you play? That's yeah.
I've played a lot of sports.
Yeah.
Are you playing tomorrow? Have you got a football match tomorrow?
Yeah, we have got a football match tomorrow at home against
Southend Manor.
Southend Manor.
So our boys are going EJ. So it's the highest level of football in the county. We play in the Premier League. So we won the league last year at the level below. We played 16, won 15, drew 1. We conceded 7 goals all season. So Zac's our goalkeeper, and Hazard, that was in the car with me today, is my centre back. Unbelievable player. The world's his oyster if he can grow. But Zac went in goal a couple of years ago. He was our top goal scorer for a few years, right from under 7s. But he's gone in goals. So we really needed a goalkeeper, to be fair, and he's been unbelievable since. It's a sweeper.
I was a goalkeeper, so all of the best people that do. I don't know what I'd call. I'm not a YouTuber, but whatever we are, all the best ones are goalkeepers, mate. So you're on the right track.
I like content provider. Content provider doesn't sound as prickish as YouTuber, does it? Do you know what I mean? Let's be honest.
I'm providing broadband or something when you say that. I don't know why. I don't know.
Content provider.
But no. No, that was again fantastic to hear, because you're so right, and like I say, there's a famous book, isn't there? Because my dad does, and that's so true. It's I support Millwall because my dad does. I got married last year. He was the best man at my wedding because he's my best friend, and seeing that you two emulate that is fantastic. And you also touched on earlier, TT, how it's helped Zac as well with like public speaking and stuff like that. And I agree. I think, this stuff is not, it's not easy to just come on and give your opinion and to do it most of the time without any editing, as it's raw. And that's what I like about your show. But Zac, tell me a little bit about how, you think that you've grown in confidence since you've been doing this sort of thing.
Well, a great example is in my English class. I'm in the top set of English, and my whole class, there was a speech writing and speaking assessment, and my whole class was like, "No, I just want to do it to the teacher." And I was like, "Do you know what? I'm going to go to the front. I'm going to speak." And I felt confident, and my whole class was like, "I don't know how you do it," but as I've grown over time in front of a camera, I just know how to speak to an audience. I know how to address an audience, and I've never felt uncomfortable speaking. Otherwise, Dad would not let me do it.
Yeah, and the funny thing, Chaps. So we don't do very many live YouTube videos because our broadband at home. You need to sort out your content providing, Chaps, because our broadband at home. Our broadband is shocking, to be fair. So we just tend not to do it. Yeah, get on the. Well, no, I thought this was the call center. I thought this was the help desk. That's why I agreed to this. I didn't. We don't normally do live videos, but we always do the FA Cup draw. So we do a live reaction to the FA Cup draw because we're at home, and I do so much research for it. So every team that's in the draw, I'll have our record in FA Cup against them, and I put it on a whiteboard. So I've got all the details in front of me because I really enjoy doing it. And we done it a few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago. I think it was the first time we ever done it. And doing it live where people are commenting. So you've got obviously stuff you're going to say, the stuff that you're going to talk about. And then when people throw in questions, the ability for him to answer those questions and still then go back to a point, I think is really important that he's able to, like, he is amazing. I know he's my kid and everyone's biased, isn't they? Like I said biased about Millwall, but he is an amazing child. He's got Millwall at the heart. He won't ever swear until he's an adult. I'll never hear him swear. Yeah, until he becomes an adult. And then, I'll probably, if Hazard sat next to me at football today, and I'm quite placid and calm with my lines because there's a massive difference between kids' football and adults' football. But I think the fans that sit around me at the Den will think I must be a terrible coach because the man that's at Millwall is an absolute lunatic.
It's mad how it gets to you, though, isn't it? Like, especially when the ref's bad. It's like it's really weird.
He did get it. Bannon got called. I think I called him Frodo or Hobbit or something as well. So
he needs to shave his hair. I think.
Yeah, he really does.
Yeah, he's got to let it go, and sometimes
let it go. Listen, you shave your head. I stopped dyeing mine. You just have to accept these things.
Yeah. To be fair, I've shaved my head since I was 18 years old. I've always had the same hair. And I don't know what, I never know. I think now it would be thinning if I let it grow out, but I just don't. And I've always had a similar bad hairline, but it is what it is. You know, you can't, what's it called? I make up with it with my good wit, my amazing sense of humor, and the fact that I'm massive in terms of my shoes. I've got a really big pair of shoes. That's what I've got.
This is a PG show, TT.
Yeah, I've got a beautiful wife. I said massive shoes. What was you thinking, Chaps? Come on, get your head out the gutter. Come on.
Sorry, my bad. Oh, fantastic. Zac, who's your favourite player at the minute for Millwall?
Do you know what? I was speaking to someone earlier, and I think it's hard to brush past Duncan Watmore because of what he has grown into this season.
Yeah, the shirt behind you, I know.
Love it. But yeah, Duncan Watmore has really grown into
That's
a player.
not your favourite player. Who's your actual favourite player?
Oh, my actual favourite player is probably someone like Billy Mitchell.
Yeah.
Who's grown through the academy, who's proved himself to the fans. And I just want him to score another goal because I remember his last goal in COVID. I ended up doing his push-up celebration, so...
I just wanted to score at the Den, like as you say, with fans.
Yeah.
Like, imagine that.
How
good is it?
I just love to see him celebrate in front of the Millwall fans. I think he'd pull some rubbish out of the bag. Billy Mitchell would.
He'd probably pull a muscle. Let's be honest. That's what he'd pull.
He's a nice lad, Billy Mitchell. He's a very good person. Very good person.
But again, you know, like to kind of bring this back full circle. Billy Mitchell's a nice lad because he comes from a good family, and
very much so. Listen, his dad is an excellent person to have a drink with. I would say that, and his mum is very respectful, very knowledgeable about football. His granddad knows about football very well. They've brought him up the right way, and he's just a great person.
And his partner does really help him out as well.
Yeah, and so we sat next to his partner a few times. She loves the sport, she loves the game, and she obviously loves Billy, which always helps when you're with someone.
Yeah, well, maybe you can tell my wife that, but
that's why she's out today.
That's why she's out. No, do you know what? She's
apparently she's on a stag do. That's all I've heard.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't bloody surprise me, mate. She's got the ump with me because I did a 3.5 hour live last night just to
3.5 hour live.
We were live for 3.5 hours, me and the boys from the podcast. Yeah, because we you know, I mean, we were waiting for all of these signings, and obviously we had to wait till midnight for the actual the Serbian lad Ivanovic to sign. So yeah, free. I'll plug it whilst we're here, guys. If you've got a spare 3 hours tonight, you can't do yourself. Click on this button somewhere and have a listen to that. But,
guys, if you are watching, don't do that. Like, save yourself.
Yeah, please don't.
Hours. Unless he can edit it down to about he's got probably 15 minutes worth of content out of 3 hours. So unless he edits it, don't watch that. He's much better than that. His videos are amazing. So yeah, watch the edited versions rather than the 3 hour live one. That would be my suggestion.
Well, you should watch this because this is going to go out tonight. And I just want to say thank you very much for coming on, chaps. I really, really do appreciate it. Like I said to you earlier, I think there's no reason why. There's lots of podcast outlets. There's lots of good content. There's lots of content that maybe is not as good, but you know, there's lots for Millwall fans to make their choice. And I really appreciate you taking time out of your Saturday evening to come and join me. And if you are listening to this, make sure we'll put it in the link and things like that. But make sure you do subscribe to the Millwall Drive Home because it is, for me, the OG from a post-match raw perspective, and I've watched it since since the age of the beginning, shall we say? Since Zac was a mute in the back, and now he's telling you to shut up, TT.
Yeah, well, it's only going to get worse. One day he'll take over. The day I'm looking forward to most is the day he is driving me home. That's the pinnacle. I'm getting driven home after having a few beers.
Only a couple of years
because you know what, I am reasonably entertaining when I haven't had a beer, but I'm even more. To be fair, there's a precipice. My missus would say that, you know, too many and I'm a disaster. I just talk way too much. Which can you believe it?
He talks well too much, and his jokes are shocking. Yeah. They are shocking.
People keep saying to me, "Oh, that's a dad joke." I'm like, I am a dad. That's exactly.
What do you expect? Yeah.
I get his sense of humour, and at school, sometimes I tell a joke and people are like, "That isn't funny," but if I told it to him, he'd be on the floor.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, Zac, listen, fathers give you things that you are appreciative of, and things that maybe you're not. And obviously, you've got the jokes there. So
his mum's looks. So it was a bonus.
And his mum's looks, yeah. Well, listen, I've got my old man's looks and my old man's grey hair. I've been grey since I was about 22. But there we go. There we go. Gents, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're both welcome on the show whenever you want. It is genuinely a pleasure. We'll have to grab a beer or something at some point after the game. International break now, but it's nice to go into that with 3 points and Super Neil Harris on the charge.
Yeah. Thanks very much. Thanks for inviting us. Like I said, if you're not subscribed to Chat with Chaps, get yourself pressing that button. You know, again, I mentioned the fact that you do it for Cancer Research UK, but it's because it's massive. You know those kind of things. You know, Nick from Acton Millwall does with the Mill Food Hub, and it just shows what this club's about and what we do. So if we ever got sponsored, that's exactly where we would. I've never bothered. Yeah. Doing it, one, because it slows it down. You know, the fact of you have to add a sponsorship and all of that rubbish to it needs to be just raw. It's bad enough that people listen to adverts when they're through it, but yeah, it's a good club. Mill's a good club to support, and if we're
one of a kind.
We are one of a kind, and many people fall into. You know, I think fans of other Championship clubs probably think they're special, but they're not. You're just running a Mill. Every other club in the country is pretty much similar, whereas there's a reason no one likes us, and do you know what? We don't care.
I mean, that right there is the finish. That is the finish. I do need to say something though. I just want to say I think there may be an opportunity for us to do something in the future to raise some money. I don't know, like an event or something. So let's stay in touch and see if there's something we can do in the future, because I can clearly tell that we're both passionate about it. But thank you very much. And listeners, thank you for listening. Make sure you subscribe to The Drive Home and Chat with Chaps. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks for listening.
3 points.